Hey everyone, my name's Tim. So I just finished listening to an audiobook of Prince Caspian, the second published book in the Chronicles of Narnia series. And what a drop in quality that was. First of all, Michael York's sweet dulcet tones were gone, replaced by Lynn Redgrave, who is a very good narrator. Um, I did think her voices were suitably varied. Um, and I missed Michael York, which just had such a great voice, so I missed that. Um, and something that it was missing the charm, it was missing the narrative, authoritative voice that I really enjoyed in the first one, and I think the main reason for that was because it's a completely split story. So you've got the story of the Pevensey children who return to Narnia and find out that a lot of stuff has changed in the past year on Earth, that they have been away. Lots and lots and lots of change. And I really like that world building because it means you can tell a completely new story. It's set in the same world, but the world could be incredibly different. I like that. I also like how later, I'm in the middle of Voyage of the Dawn Treader right now, and in the later, I think it may be at the end of this book, they talk about how that time difference isn't fixed. It's magic, so it can be anything, which gives the writer space to do what they want, but also means as a reader, you're not going to be like, oh, great, I have to see a whole new set of characters. You can just kind of pick and choose what he likes. But yeah, they don't do much in this book. The Pevensey children don't do a lot at all. Most of their section is finding out where and when they are. That's good. Then they meet a dwarf. And then the dwarf tells the story of Prince Caspian. And I would say the flashback to Prince Caspian's life, the Trumpkin, the dwarf telling this story, is 2/3 of the book, I would say. And because you're reading about someone telling someone else a story, I would say C.S. Lewis's natural voice is removed. It's one level distant because you're hearing this through Trumpkin's voice. And I know the C.S. Lewis does say, well, I'm going to summarize this for you. Stop avoiding all the questions that the children asked. But I did think that that's what helps remove it. And then you hear the story of Prince Caspian with his father when he was a young boy, everything changing, the realization that his uncle even is not a nice man, and when his uncle has a son, he's no longer needed, so he flees. It was just missing that magic. And I do think part of it is because it wasn't Narnia as we know it. It was this new version of Narnia full of humans who had never been in Narnia previously. There were no mythical creatures. There was no magic. It was just the stories of old Narnia. And I do like how they linked the two parts of the story of the Pevensies and Prince Caspian in a way when you realise what Prince Caspian does, and that's what brings the Pevensey children to the world. I quite enjoyed that. I enjoyed Nickabrick as a character because he was just so grumpy. And then in the end, he has a bit of a sickly end. The Pevensies and Prince Caspian don't actually meet until I think it's like the second chapter from the end. So once you hear the story of Prince Caspian, which is fine, it's not that interesting for me, we then go back to the Pevensey children, and they spend the next 3 chapters, I think it is something like that, walking, and they get lost, and then they have to go back a little bit, and then they're like, oh, should we go left or right? And we'll go right. Oh, we should have gone left. And that bit is very boring to read, to listen to. Then we start getting into the more Christian bits, because Aslan makes an appearance, because it's a Chronicles of Narnia book. And I'm thinking, my initial thought is Lucy is the one that can see Aslan, and no one else can, and eventually Edmund sees him. And I think this is because they're the youngest, and they're more childlike. They're full of childlike wonder, and that's maybe why Susan and Peter can't come back to Narnia because they're too old. That makes no sense. There's full adults there. But anyway, and that's why they can see Aslan. And I like it when Edmund's like, "Hey, Lucy could see Narnia and we couldn't. She was right. Let's back her up this time." And unfortunately, Edmund's not. So Edmund makes a nice turn. Edmund's nice in this book. And then, because I'm an adult, and I was like, oh, actually, this isn't about childlike wonder. This is about faith. And my shoulders actually went, oh, it's about faith. If you believe in Aslan, then you can see him. If you believe in Jesus, that's because you can see him. And that made me feel a bit icky. And then, so once they do a bit of wandering about and they get lost, then eventually they all meet up, Caspian and the Pevensies, and they go and they have this big fight, big duel. Again, the group splits, and you have the women, Lucy and Susan, with Aslan going off and not doing any fighting, because women fighting is incredibly ugly, and Edmund and Peter going off and doing some fighting. So, first of all, it's a split narrative, because you've got Prince Caspian and the Pevensies, and then they come together, and then they split again, and you've got the boys and the girls. It just means they're not together enough. So in the boys' side, I find that more interesting, because I loved the scene where they go to have a duel, and Miraz, the bad guy, his generals are like, we're in a win-win here. If Miraz takes the fight and wins, then we win the war. And if he doesn't win, then he's dead. But we still have them surrounded, and we can still fight, and we can still win, and then we'll be king. That's good. And so they go in and tell Miraz not to do the fight, to reverse psychology and trick him into doing it and getting him all angry. I really liked that. That was well explained, very clever. It did mean that Miraz had his ending was very like, did he just trip and fall on his own sword? Is that what happened? I couldn't quite gauge. He just didn't get up, and then they stabbed him. Spoilers, sorry, for a book that's 70 years old. Yeah, so that bit I found interesting. And I was like, where's Susan and Lucy during this? Have I just missed that? I might have missed that. What they do is they go on a holy tour. So they just go through and they destroy a bridge, which is cool. That's good. And I'm like, oh, cool, that makes sense, because that kind of helps the battle and they get there and they realise that the bridge is out. The bridge is out! And and then we go back to Lucy and Susan and see what they've been doing. They take out the bridge. That's cool. And then they just go around the towns. And Aslan is just Jesus. He turns water into wine. He heals the sick. He scares away nasty teachers and turns naughty school children into pigs. Maybe. It's just weird. It's really weird, because that was the first bit, apart from the bit with the faith, where I was like, actually, you could see that in both ways. And that's probably my more negative, I'm looking for it mindset of, Lucy and Edmund still have the spirit of Narnia, and that's where they can see Aslan. But this bit, I was like, oh my god, what is this? This is just... And then they just do a load of Jesus stuff. And it doesn't push the plot forward in any way. They've already won the battle, so you think the book's ended. And you're like, okay, cool, this is into the denouement, the final bit, the climax is finished. But no, it just happens, and it's bizarre. It's really bizarre. And I was just like not paying attention at all, because I was like, well, this is the bit right before the end of the book. Like, just end the book. It could have ended. They take out the bridge, and then that's a useful tactical thing. And I think this would definitely go up in my ratings. But that last bit really hinders it. So that's all stuff that I didn't really like so much. What did I like? One other thing I didn't really like so much is I had no idea how old Prince Caspian was at all. I know in the film he's like a man, and I thought that was a bit odd. But with Lynn Redgrave's voice, he sounds younger than Edmund, you know. And because I think it's because it starts off with a flashback of him being a lot younger. Then I found it really, I couldn't gauge how old he was at all. So I'm not sure if he's like a king who's 8 years old, and in which case that would be ridiculous. Or if he's kind of 15, 16, that kind of age. I'm not sure. What did I like? I liked it when Narnia came back, like proper Narnia. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed Trubkin as a character. I thought he was good fun. I like Knickerbrick. I didn't like him, but I thought he was well executed in what he wanted to do. I thought Knickerbrick had good points of like, hey, you've done this thing for Aslan. I know another source of power. Let's try that. I don't really care. So he was a antagonist, but it wasn't. It was just a difference of opinion, and he was the Boromir. Like, we could use the ring. He was a bit like that. Once they all got together, I thought that narrative voice came out again from C.S. Lewis, which I really enjoyed. I thought the narration was very good, and I liked the Telmarines felt very real in a way for being, you know, a bit of set dressing. Ultimately, I thought they had a fear of water and a fear of things coming over the sea because a long time ago they'd burned all their boats because Narnia was so great. Like, that kind of stuff I quite liked. So I gave this 3 stars, a big dip in quality from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe for me. I've started on Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and I'm enjoying that much more. So I think maybe it's just them finding out how they're going to put all this together. But yeah, 3 stars. Let me know in the comments below if you enjoyed this. Please give this video a like. It does help feed it into the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm that no one understands, but everyone seems to dislike. And please subscribe so you see my videos. And I'll see you soon. All right, bye.